Look who just stepped into the studio with us. An icon of icons, Rob Reiner.
Well, what do you think of that?
And now what?
Are you as excited as I am?
I'm not. I couldn't possibly be. I couldn't possibly be as excited as you are to be in with us. But the point is, Mr. Reiner, I have to say that throughout your career, you have brought, I think, more pleasure in the hours upon hours upon hours of you've made 4 or 5 iconic movies that whenever any piece of it is on, I have to watch the rest of it. Even if it's the closing credits, I will sometimes watch it. Just
the American President, the closing credits. I have that on.
That makes me feel great because you make movies and you hope people enjoy them and you hope they last. And one of the great thrills I got last year was they did a 25th anniversary of Princess Bride, and they had it at the Lincoln Center, and all these people who had. It was like the Rocky Horror Show. They're just basically calling out the lines. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father.
Have fun storming the castle.
Yeah, inconceivable, all this stuff. And what gave me such a kick out of it was all these people who were like 8, 9, 10 years old who saw it for the first time when it first came out and now have kids of their own, and they're introducing their kids to it. So it's a thrill.
Well, Ro makes a really good point, Rob, because a lot of your films, they have what I call that, that repeatability factor. I mean, there are a lot, when people talk about their favorite films, there are, like, when you talk about A Princess Bride or A Few Good Men or Spinal Tap or When Harry Met Sally, it's the kind of film, if you're clicking around, you'll stop on it. Oh, this is great. This part is great. And then 45 minutes later, the closing credits are going. There are a lot of great films out there, but Schindler's List does not have a repeatability factor for me. It's the one time.
You don't get sucked into Schindler's List every time and have to watch,
But there's got to be a special joy in seeing that, as you mentioned, because they some of them are set in their time. Princess Bride, of course, is a fable, but there is a timelessness because the dialogue and the relationships, because these films are about the characters.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun for me, and that there are lines that are quoted from the movies. I get a tremendous kick out of the fact that, my mother, who has the line in When Harry Met Sally, "I'll have what she's having," that is now one of the top 5 lines of all time in the AFI or whatever.
Amazing?
And I love the fact that she's in there with Clark Gable and Humphrey Bogart and
Gable.
Estelle Reiner is
Rob's mom. That's so true.
It's true, and I get a kick out of that.
It's De Niro and Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
It's Clark Gable.
Yeah,
it's Rob's mom.
Yeah, you're looking at me. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. I'll have what she's having.
Is your dad Carl happy about that, or is it?
He is actually. He's very happy, very proud of the fact that she is kind of, immortalized with it.
We talked a little bit this morning. You were on When to See Live with us. People can watch that again tonight at midnight. And I'm so fascinated by what your childhood must have been like with Carl Reiner, who's one of the great, the seminal modern media comedians, right? He created one of the greatest television shows of all times. He was part of, with Mel Brooks and with Sid Caesar, part of the, this great sort of, modern comedy.
Yeah, if you think about anything that you laughed at in the second half of the 20th century, you can find the antecedent in your Show of Shows and Caesar's Hour, because you were talking about Neil Simon, Mel Brooks, Carl Reiner, Aaron Rubin, Joe Stein, who wrote Fiddler on the Roof, Larry Gelbart, Woody Allen. I mean, it's wild, and except for Woody Allen, these people were in and out of my house. I mean, I was around these people all the time. Amazing. So something had to rub off. Otherwise, what am I doing?
So as a performer, as a guy who started as an actor and then went to become a director, and every actor says, I wish to direct someday. But
there's a great New Yorker cartoon. It shows a movie executive sitting behind his desk, and a dog is sitting in front of them, and the caption reads, and as the dog's got his mouth open, the caption reads, "But what I really want to do is direct." Yeah, it's true. Everybody wants to.
Were people trying to talk you out of it? Because your television career was going very, very well, your acting career.
Well, in my day, there was no, the people came out of television were considered second-class citizens. We were like the low men and the royalty was movies and we were the peons, Mm-hmm. And so to make a transition from a sitcom actor to become a film director was just not heard of. And, there was me and then Ronnie Howard and a few others, but it didn't happen. Now everybody goes back and forth between television and movies. But in those days, it was a very, very tough transition.
When I'm watching a film like And So It Goes, and you've got a role in there, you're the pianist, the accompanist to Diane Keaton's lounge singer, and you have some fun moments. But I'm watching this and I'm thinking, as an actor, as you know as well as anybody, there are so many ups and downs, and you're at the mercy of everybody else. And I'm thinking, I'll bet you had more fun as a director all these years than having to worry about the next role. And it's fun. You can have a little acting fun while you're in charge of the film.
It's true. I mean, you don't have the anxiety of waiting for the next role. Now, because I've been able to do both, whenever I get a chance to act, that to me is fun because I don't have the headache. Somebody else has all the problems. I remember years ago I was asked by Ron Howard to be in this movie he did called Ed TV, and it was with Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey. Yeah. And he said, "You want to do a part in this?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." She says, "Well, let me send you the script and you can read it and see if it's something that you're interested in." I said, "No, I'll be in it." I said, "Because if it stinks, it's not my fault. It's you're the one that has the responsibility." So it is fun for me as an actor, but if I had to wait around all the time to get asked to be in a part, it would be, very frustrating.
As an actor in your own film that you are directing, have you ever said to yourself, "Let's do one more for safety"? Have you ever done that?
Well, it's a weird thing because when you're in the scene, you don't get to see it. So you got to go look at it and see if it worked, which I don't like doing. I like to be able to get something done and then move on. And it's kind of an odd split attention kind of thing, confusing. But in this case, I had a small budget. I had to find an actor who would work for scale. So I basically looked around and I found myself.
So all right, let's talk about it. There's so many, we talk about so many iconic things from your films and A Few Good Men. That great scene.
Yes, you can't handle the truth.
You can't handle the truth. And you see Tom Cruise. I don't know how many times you did that, but when you see Tom Cruise do that thing where he earnestly stands up there like all the great movie stars throughout the history of the medium, pounding his fist, and he says that, and then you've got the reverse shot with this Nicholson with that incredible snarl on his face. Did you know you had it at that moment? I mean, do you know that you had one of the most iconic scenes ever to be put on film?
You never know what scenes are going to last or have an impression. You're just doing something that is in support of the story. And, I knew the scene was working. I mean, Jack Nicholson's performance is incredible. And there's a little story that goes with it, which is when I went to shoot it, I asked Jack if, he wanted me to shoot him first or shoot the coverage. In other words, the reaction shots, Tom and Demi and Kevin Bacon, Kevin Pollak. And I had a lot of cutaways, for people reacting. And Jack said, why don't you shoot them first and I'll be off camera. And that way I can rehearse, the thing. Wow. And then by the time I'm ready to shoot, I'll be ready to go. I said, fine. So now we start the first thing. We're shooting somebody else. And he gives what you see on camera. He gives that performance, and he does it over and over and over again off camera. And I said to Jack, Jack, why don't you save some of this when we turn the camera around? He says, Rob, you don't understand. I love to act. He said, I don't get great parts like this. And he gave a full out performance every single time. Wow. And then when we turned the camera on him, it was just as good.
That's amazing. Because, a lot of actors of that caliber, too, by the fifth take, they'd be like, look, the truth, you're probably not a big fan of the truth. You and the truth aren't friends.
We'll be back with Rob Reiner. His new film, by the way, is opening on the 18th of I know we're a little ahead of ourselves here. A month from today, on the 18th of July, and So It Goes. We're going to talk about that because, boy, does it have it's got these kids in it.
Couple up-and-comers he's going to give a break to. It's
right.
Very nice.
Michael Douglas, I don't know what else he's ever done.
Everybody had to check their Oscars at the door before they walked onto the set.
And we'll talk about that with Diane Keaton, too.
Yeah,
I mean, imagine Beautiful. This. Right. We'll talk about it all right after this. American icon Rob Reiner is in the studio with us. He's got a new film coming out next month, a month from today, on the 18th of July, and So It Goes. And
that's the name of the movie.
Oh!
That's the name of the movie, And So It Goes. And so it goes. Like, okay, let's not talk to him.
Sounded like he was Charlie Rose all
to him anymore.
And so it goes with Mr. Reiner. We wish you well, sir. Yeah, exactly. Fare thee well. And be gone with you. Show yourself out. What the heck just happened?
Yeah. Michael Douglas.
Yes.
Diane Keaton.
Yes, two slouches.
Yes, have done nothing. And it's like 600 Oscars between the two of them. And the idea here is that it's a love story, right? It's sort of the final great romance love story.
It's actually the genesis of the movie came out of an experience we had when we were doing the bucket list press junket. And everybody would ask us what's on your bucket list. And whenever they asked Jack Nicholson that question, he would say, one more great romance. And that became the idea for this movie. And we wanted to explore the idea of two people finding each other at a later stage in life.
Well, and I like a lot of things I like about this film, but watching these two great actors, and I remember on Golden Pond, people were so surprised to find out that Hepburn and Henry Fonda had never worked together.
I know.
And it's kind of similar here. You go through the IMDb and you're like, wait a minute, I never see a moment where it's Michael Douglas and Diane Keaton.
I know, and they were dying to work together. They never had. And, when you do a romantic comedy, you always wonder, are you going to have the chemistry? It was like instant chemistry. They were terrific together.
The timing is, both of them have just such perfect timing. And there's some moments, I don't want to give away a lot of the punchlines, but there's a moment where he's explaining why he could be her agent. And he's a realtor. And, he basically says, hey, I've sold houses in worse shape than you are.
Yeah. He says, I'm a lot older.
Yeah. But the timing, it reminds me, Rob, of a lot of the great screwball comedies of the 30s, where it's just so quick, but also feels like it's what they're saying, not that they're thinking about the line. Right. And that's a rare thing, especially nowadays.
Yeah, no, and what I try to do is mix, those elements. You have classic romantic comedy elements, but there's also some very serious dramatic elements to the movie. You have a Michael Douglas who has a son who he hasn't seen in 10 years. He has a granddaughter he didn't even know he had. Mm-hmm. And so these elements we bring in, try to blend them, and I think it works pretty good.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an edge, and of course, the real world parallels, because Michael's own son has had drug problems. He lost a brother. Yes. So that had to be something that was, very close to him.
Well, it was. And, I didn't have to talk to him about it. He knew, he can play those scenes without having to discuss it. And I have talked to Michael about that privately, about what he's gone through. We're very close with each other. We share a lot of things. We both have fathers who achieved at a very high level and who we've done well too. And so we know what that feels like. We both made our bones on TV series. He was on Streets of San Francisco. I did All in the Family. So we have a lot of things in common, and I've known him a long time. He's a great guy.
So, and his health is good, and he looks great in the film.
Looks great in the film.
And he's doing great with Catherine. His life is really going really well.
Yeah, you almost hate it. The guy is talented. He's great looking.
I hate him because of the amount of hair he has.
His father, it doesn't fall far from the tree, right?
No, he's got a great head of hair, and in me in the movie, I don't have such a great head of hair. I'm wearing a toupee that I know it's undetectable, but still, it's not my hair.
Well, you had to know this was coming. The greatest joke of the Dick Van Dyke Show was your father's hair.
That's right. My father always used to have, all the different hair pieces, but that was like brilliant compared to this drowned, rat that I'm sitting on my head.
Well, congratulations on another winner.
Thank you.
And it really is something. Go see. It's going to be a month from now. We'll replay this as we get closer. And So It Goes is the film for Rob Reiner. And Richard Roper will, of course, have his review in just a couple of weeks on this. But I can promise you, unless he gets hit by a CTA train that's derailed, he is going to. It's going to be very, very positive.
I hope that train doesn't come, Richard. I really hope it.
Because now you have a vested interest.
Yeah, I really do.
August will be on your own.
Before I heard this, I went, fine, let that train hit you. But now I feel, don't do that.
Appreciate that.